Hey YouTube, what's going on today? Northeast Ohio Sports Cards here for a little bit of the what do we want to call this? The good and bad of this whole sports cards game. It's not always good. Popular to recent beliefs, cards just do not always go up, and sometimes you make mistakes. Not mistakes. I shouldn't say mistakes. Sometimes you just get straight unlucky. So we got a combination mail day slash, as part of that, an example of how you can lose in this game, and that's not something that anyone ever likes to talk about, especially because the last 5 months, since basically the beginning of April, everything has just gone up for the most part. If you use a little tracking software or whatever, it's all green lines. Everything looks great. Everything's happy. As we talked about in the weekly updates a couple days ago, some stuff's starting to go down. These guys are getting hurt, and things are happening. They're not playing up to expectations, and the market, as quick as it is to jump on, say, a Michael Porter Jr. going crazy, is just as quick to jump off one of these guys when they get hurt, like we demonstrated in that Sunday video. So we're going to talk about a couple quick cards, some pickups that I've made over the last week, just real quick. And 2 of the 3 of those are going to be perfect examples for what we're talking about today. And then I got just a couple interesting charts on a couple players that I want to throw at you guys. So first off, on the mail day stuff, first one, this is Northeast Ohio Sports Cards. Oh, before I get into this, once again, I always freaking forget. Thank you guys for 450 subs. We hit it this morning before I started recording this video. So keep doing what you're doing on the YouTube nonsense down below. I hate pushing that crap, but whatever. Hit the subscribe button, like some shit, leave some comments if you guys got questions, and I'll try to answer them. And then, keep doing what you're doing, and we will keep growing the channel and getting more eyes on us. So, mail day. We got this good old Baker Select PSA 10. This is the premier level, so this is the lower pop count of the 2 main ones. There's the Concourse and then Premier, or I think it's called for football. And then there's the field level, which are extremely rare. But I got a really good deal on this. Baker's Prism stuff, like most football things, are starting to go up. His PSA 10 base Prism jumped not that long ago. The Select was slowly following suit. So I had been watching some. These generally went for about $100 a pop. I was watching one that was a buy it now at $99 or whatever, and it was one of those situations where the guy sent me an offer of like, hey, buy this now for $70. And I just immediately clicked buy it now. They regularly sell for $85 to $95, so I think he could have got that price if he waited. I'm guessing he just wanted to move it because he needed money to buy something else. So I got what I thought was a pretty good deal on it, and I gobbled it up. If Baker plays well, I think his stuff will go ballistic because everyone loves Baker. Not everybody, but most people love Baker. And then he's just one of those polarizing guys that you either love him or hate him, and the people that love him will go to crazy for him. And the Cleveland sports market is desperate for the Browns to be good, so there's some extra value there. And I semi-PC him. I don't want to say I pure PC him because I would sell his cards if I had, if the moment was right or whatever. I wouldn't hold them until infinity and beyond. But I do go out of my way to track Baker stuff a little extra close. So pick this up for what I thought was a good deal. So this isn't necessarily on topic with what we're doing today, but it was in the mail pile with this other stuff. So let's talk about the bad. We talked about this card on the channel, and 9 times out of 10, if I try to stay away from just straight making pure, like, you guys got to go out and buy this guy. I try to stick more towards showing you guys the data and saying, you know what, this card looks mispriced. If you believe in the player and you believe in the data, then this might be something you want to look at picking up. So a few weeks ago, about a week and a half ago, I made a video about Ben Simmons, his PSA 10 Prisms. had drastically outmarched the Optic PSA 10. Based off what the Prisms were selling for, and they were still going up, this card was too cheap. Funny story about this. I bought one that day that I made the video for $200. The guy canceled the sell on me. So I was pissed. Because what happened the same day I made the video, and I am not going to even remotely say that I moved the market on this. I love you guys, but I don't believe that I have the power to move a market on a card at all. I do not have that big of a head to think that I'm freaking Gary Vee sitting behind this camera. Anyway, but they were starting to trending up because, you know, people see the same data I'm seeing. They're using market movers or card ladder or whatever it is tool that you choose to use. So it's not like I'm Einstein for figuring this out. But they started going up. So they were trending around 225 to 250 by the end of that day. And I really wanted to get in on one. So I found another one. I got it for $230. It ended up being almost $250 with tax and shipping at $240, whatever. And then it kept trending up. It got up to around $250 to $275. And then what happened is he got hurt. They didn't know exactly what it was at first. This card started trending down, and now he has to have knee surgery to remove loose bodies. Once again, I don't think they know how serious it is yet, but it's not like a torn ACL like I mentioned in Saturday's video. But he's out for the rest of the pod. Or the bubble, rather. Long story short, this card has nosedived. The chart that you guys see right up there is this card's chart. You could see it peaked on the 4th at around 250-ish. I bought in on the 3rd at around this 220 price point. And we can see as of yesterday, it is down to 135. This is going back 7 days, and it is down 40% to $135 a card. Now, I personally am a semi-believer in Ben Simmons. I'm going to be keeping my eye on this card to see if I can buy more when it hits the floor. It has shown me, as long as the market stays stable, what the ceiling is for the card at minimum at around 250 when he's playing just fine. So I don't see any reason why, and it may take till next season, so just know that if you purchase these, it's going to be something that you have to hold long term. So this isn't going to be, I bought it on Monday, it went up 9,000% on Wednesday, and I get to sell it for an immediate profit. This is, I bought it cheap now, and maybe by December I could sell it for a nice turnaround. So just be aware that you're going to have to hold it. It's not going to be a quick flip situation like some stuff. A good example of this, besides the second card we're going to talk about, I would show you this one, but I already sold it. As I've mentioned before on the channel, I like targeting SGC auctions because they sell really undervalued. I picked up a job Prism SGC 10 at auction about a week and a half ago for $250 shipped with tax. The PSA 10 Prism of that car, or PSA 10 of the base Prism, at the time was selling for around $500. They topped out at around $600, and they're starting to creep back down again. But I sold that card last night for $400. I held the card for maybe a week tops. I debated just holding it because I thought I got a really good deal on it. However, I have more Marant base Prisms at SGC. I don't know what they graded yet because they're so freaking backed up. I have a rant coming about them, but I'm saving it for whenever they send me my cards back. So I could go over it with the reveal of the grades. But regardless, that was a situation where I bought it 2 weeks ago for $250 and sold it yesterday for, I think I netted $380 after fees and shipping. I sold it in a Facebook group. So I made $130 in a week, just basically holding the card. But this Ben Simmons Optic is not a case of that. This is going to be something you're going to have to buy and be willing to hold on to it for at least 3 months, probably minimum, if not longer, probably at least until Christmas. And then there's been rumors circulating now that maybe the NBA season will not start back December 1st. Maybe it'll start later, but I still think that's all up in the air, so who the hell knows. But this is how things can go bad. These guys are now getting hurt, and their cards are going down, and they're going down fast. The sell-off is real. I don't know where the race to the bottom is on this card. Eventually, it's going to level out. But I'll be keeping a close eye on it to see where it levels out and maybe look to pick up another one or two of them to quote-unquote average down, which essentially bring the average price paid per card down to a more reasonable number. Because right now I'm already off. I bought essentially at the high with taxes and shipping at $250, and I've already lost almost $120 on this card. Which is fine. You win some, you lose some. It basically washed out with the Morant that I sold, but I wasn't necessarily looking. I was hoping that the Sixers were going to make a deep run. Now Embiid's hurt. Their whole season's a mess. So the flip side, let's talk about the opposite side of the coin. Michael Porter Jr. This freaking guy. I'm sure all you've heard about is Michael Porter Jr. on every freaking YouTube video known to man, but it fits in with our theme today because this is the flip side of the coin. I bought this last Monday, whatever that date is, the 2nd or so, right between here and here. This was the night that he went crazy for the first game. In the first quarter of that game, his stuff started flying. He is extremely trendy to begin with. Everyone loves Michael Porter Jr. They were just waiting. This was like the lit pile of dry wood, already had gasoline on it. And there was kids playing with matches running around the fire pit, essentially type situation. Because the hobby loves MPJ, and then he finally put up numbers to back up the love, and it was like a wildfire with his prices. So stuff was flying off eBay literally as fast as you could find it for anything remotely undervalued. So I went to an alternative site called MySlabs. If you guys have not checked out MySlabs, and I did not think to pull this up beforehand, but we can. MySlabs is essentially eBay, but for graded cards only, no auctions. It's buy it now and best offer only, and the fees are extremely cheap. Essentially, everything's just ran through PayPal goods and services. You have to go through an application process to sell on here. You do not need to do that to buy on here. You just link your PayPal account up, and you're off and running. The advantage is, for the buyer, you don't pay shipping and you don't pay sales tax unless you live in the same state as the seller. On some of these cards, that shit really adds up. Sorry, I keep swearing today. I don't know why. That stuff really adds up. On the selling side, I don't remember the exact fees because I haven't sold on here yet, but the fees are drastically lower compared to eBay. So you could usually price things a little bit cheaper, and as the buyer, if you don't have to pay shipping and sales tax, that saves you sometimes $20-$30 off the price of a card. So long story short, eBay was getting wiped out, so I hopped over here to MySlabs, and they had, where did it go? Right here. They had a red, white, and blue Prism for $200. Now, as of that day, and this person probably had it listed, and this is what I've talked about a million times, don't leave this stuff posted unless you're willing to get your lunch eaten, especially on a card like this. He probably had it posted earlier that day. It was going for around $165. He probably had it listed high at $200. Figured he'd get a couple offers at some point in time and, whatever. Well, MPJ went ballistic and everyone started buying his stuff. $200 seemed real cheap, real quick. At the time I bought that, his base Prism that day were going for around $300 by like halftime of that basketball game, maybe even earlier. So I said, screw it. Bought it for $200. I was actually worried the guy wasn't going to ship it, or lady, I don't know. Because by the end of that game, his stuff was going crazy. And then the next night, he went off again, or like a day later. So, long story short on this one, I paid $200 for it. By the time the card got to me, it had gone up $300. This is now around a $500 card, give or take. I could probably easily sell this for anywhere between $450 and $500 without putting a ton of work in trying to get rid of it. And that was before the card even arrived to me through the postal system. You can see I had this chart go back 14 days. But essentially, it's up 200% in the last 2 weeks, this red, white, and blue. So that's the world we live in. What to take out of that, guys? I have no freaking idea. This market is crazy. But I think what it has shown me is the sell-off on these guys can come hard and fast. Just as fast as they go up, it seems like they can go down. I don't think they'll go down as fast. They're not going to change 200%. But as you can see on this Simmons, I mean, it dropped 40% in not even a week. And I'll be curious to see where this levels out at. And then on the flip side of this Porter Jr., skyrocketed. Now, what happens to MPJ when the Nuggets gets bounced from the playoffs? Who the hell knows? Does he level off or does he tank? He's not hurt. Does he continue to start? That's an open question. He probably should. He's been playing great. But Malone has been known to do dumb stuff with young players. So who the hell knows? But yeah. So it's just going to be interesting to see what happens when these guys go the opposite direction. That being said, let's look at two of the highest priced players from the 19 class, Ja and Zion. As we all know, let's look at the graphs here. Those lines are not going up, they're going down. We talked about this on Sunday, but I wanted to run another updated numbers on it. I can tell you guys, as someone that's on social media pretty much constantly, whether it's Discord or Facebook groups, and someone that moderates a buy-sell trade chat room, the Zion sell-off is real. Now, it's not like Kmart Blue Light specials, everyone come to the aisle, we're giving this stuff away, but people are actively looking to move their positions off Zion, for sure. This chart is over the last 7 days, and you can see Ja is getting impacted as well. I already saw Zion is not playing tomorrow night in the Pelicans game. I wouldn't be surprised if he is completely done for bubble games. I don't see why they would play him, so we have pretty much, maybe he plays one more, I don't know. My gut says is we've seen his last game this season. And I think these prices are going to continue to decline. If you are not a long-term believer in Zion, and you don't want to have money tied up in him all during the off season, I would maybe consider selling off some of it. The way I've approached Zion is I'm essentially selling 2/3 of my Zion stuff and holding a third. I moved the rest of my raw Zion yesterday. I had 2 base Donruss paper, an optic base, and a couple My House base inserts that I sold all of them off yesterday. The only Zion stuff I personally have left is that pink PSA 10 camo back here, which I pulled and got graded. I had 2 of them, and I had a silver PSA 9. My plan all along was to sell the silver and sell one of the 10s and hold that one. I have more Zion stuff getting graded currently at both SGC and PSA. I don't know what I'll do with that stuff because God knows what the market will look like by the time it gets back. Can Zion be absolutely special? Yes. The more I see of him play, and this just could completely be recency bias, I have my concerns that he could very easily be, the cliche Sean Kemp or Blake Griffin. You could see, I don't know how you can't watch him play and see both sides of the coin. You could easily see where he shows flashes where he could be the second coming, but you can also see the concerns of him potentially being a bust. Not necessarily a bust, but a bust compared to where his prices currently are. I mean, his PSA 10 Prism, you could see there on the 14-day chart, or the last 7 days, the high was $1,000. Now, that's an outlier. The average was around 800, but they've sold us that high before. But regardless, I don't know if he just backslides a little bit and is just a superstar, just an NBA star. His PSA 10 price does not justify a $700 to $800 price tag. So we'll see what happens. The flip side of that being, if you missed out on Zion and you are a believer, do not buy now. I would wait. Track his PSA 10 Prism price, see how low it goes, and then swoop in and scoop it up if you do believe in him. Like I said, my take on him is I'm selling off enough to lock in really good returns that I am essentially free rolling whatever I'm holding. Like I sold the pink camo and the PSA 9 and the camo 10. I got about $1,300 for those two combined, or I'm sorry, $1,200 for those two combined. That makes this pink camo basically free. I didn't pay anything. I really didn't pay anything for it to begin with because I'd already broken even on Mosaic. But that's how I'm approaching Zion: is move a portion of it so I'm not quote unquote left holding the bag. Now, if he turns into the next LeBron, Giannis, Luka, whatever, I still have some stuff. I locked in a great return, and I still have stuff to hold, into next season. The stuff I have back at grading, I'll probably wait and take full inventory of it, see exactly what I have, what grades they pull, and then go from there on that stuff. So that's how I'm kind of approaching the Zion stuff. Ja, I am much more willing to hold on to. I have moved some Ja stuff, but I would say it's more the opposite, where I've moved off a third of my Ja stuff and held on to 2/3. There's still a good chance they're the 8 seed, but they have been playing like garbage, and the Trailblazers and Spurs and the Suns are hot on their heels now for this 8 seed. If they manage to make it into the playoffs and he plays well, I think his prices will actually start to go back up again. But that's why his prices are going down, is because the Grizzlies look like crap, and people were just assuming that they were a shoe-in for the 8 seed. And I don't think that's going to happen now. So, but that's what's going on with those two. Pretty much any video I do going forward, we're going to be keeping. I'm going to dip in, and we'll take a peek at these Zion prices and Ja, because the two of them are what carry the 19 class as the headliners. There's lots of other value lower in the class, but we'll be keeping a close eye on that because I think it's a fascinating test case for the rest of the market. So, and then just real quick, I recorded the Sunday update, or the weekend review, a day early. Usually I do it on Sunday. Last week I did it on Saturday, and Saturday night Luka went absolutely bonkers against Giannis. And Luka's prices went crazy. They were already crazy to begin with. They went crazier. This chart goes back the last 7 days. Here we see his Optic. Here we see his PSA 10 Prism. His PSA 10 Prism base is now a $2,000 card. It literally went up $800 overnight. It was a $1,200 card on Saturday. It's a $2,000 card on Sunday afternoon. And now everything else is starting to go up. If you're still looking to get in on Luka, I would look at the Optic, which is shown here, and I would also look at his select stuff. The other one that is crazy, and we made a video on the LeBron base Prism from 2019. Luka's second year stuff is now off the freaking reservation. His second year base Prism Raw is like a $50 card, his 2019. And I checked eBay sold listings, 1920 Luka base Prism PSA 10 is $500 for a base Prism PSA 10. So second year cards are a thing. I will tell you, I haven't bought any yet, but I have looked. I may look to pick up some base 2019 Prism of Trae Young. They are around $10 a piece to sub $10 a piece. I think he could be. I think people have semi-forgot about him. His Prism and base Prism from his rookie year and his silver have done well for pricing, but I think the 1920 has slipped under the cracks for now, but I don't think that will last. The other thing that is wild on that front is Chronicles Basketball has Prism Update. Anthony Davis has a card in his first Lakers jersey in the Prism Update. As of the time of this recording, it's going for like $200 to $240 for a base Prism AD card in his Lakers jersey. I have not ripped any Chronicles personally. I went looking for it this morning and got beat out. But the box breaks that I have watched on retail, I didn't see a lot of Prism getting pulled out of it. I will be curious to see how Chronicles values hold. Because this product is not necessarily typically a premier product. I would absolutely not advise anybody to pay what it is going for on the secondary markets. There is one good jaw card out of it. It's the Luminance where he's dunking on Kevin Love. And the cornerstones are nice, but you're probably not going to pull one. And then the Prism update stuff is worth a lot of money, almost regardless of what player you pull. But from the breaks I've seen, there's just not a lot of that Prism update in that stuff. Now, if you can find it at retail, at the shelf in Target or Walmart, more power to you. Rip away. Or flip it if you just want to lock in the profits. But absolutely do not pay secondary market prices at the moment. Now, that being said, at the end of this week, once everyone gets their full allocations and this thing unloads on all the Targets and Walmarts across America, which it should be this week, check your stores, the secondary market prices are going to go down for sure. The only reason they're this high now is because only a few stores got it late last week, and then it's starting to trickle into stores this week. So, but do not buy that at the inflated secondary market prices. Please, for the love of God, don't buy it at those prices. It is not worth it. If you want to buy and rip wax, try to track down Prism. You'll pay through the nose for it. But really, ripping wax at the secondary market prices in this market is not worth it. Unless you just want to gamble and have fun. And if that's all you want to do and you realize you're lighting money on fire, great, go for it. But if you're actually doing it for an investment standpoint, don't. So that's all I got for you guys today. Sorry for getting a little rambly there at the end, but once I start running my mouth, I have problems shutting it sometimes, as my wife will gladly tell you. But yeah, go find Chronicles. It is hitting this week. Be careful on these guys. They can go down. Things just don't always go up forever. And I don't want to see any of you guys getting left holding the bag. So, no idea what the next video will be or when it is. Probably in a few days. I try to get something out every 2 or 3 days to you guys. But as I mentioned before, thank you for 450. And let's get to 500 and keep this train rolling. All right, guys. You guys have a good week, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.